pay attention to your data, even if it's simple. Even if you say, well, I only have 5 customers right now, I'd say, yeah, just make sure whatever information you're capturing about that, keep it up to date and keep it clean, and be mindful of it, because one day hopefully you're going to grow, right? Because that's why you're doing what you're doing. You probably want to grow, maybe sell your business. um, Growing will be much easier if you have that mindset from the outset to, I'm going to keep my data clean, regardless of how little or rudimentary your data is today.
Welcome back to another episode of the We Live to Build podcast. This is episode 219 with John Golden. John is currently the Chief Strategy and Marketing Officer at Pipeliner CRM. In this episode, we talk about sales, a little bit of marketing, a lot about AI, and things that first-time founders may struggle with when it comes to putting together a sales process and conducting research. So I hope you enjoy this episode. Let's get to it. What do you think is the thing that most founders struggle to do or just outright fail to do when they're starting to do sales?
Yeah, I think, Sean, one of the biggest things is that they approach it, and this is a natural thing to do because they're enthusiastic. They got into their business because they're passionate about something, or they want to start their business, and they are probably used to building things just based on relationships and outreach and all that. So they start to approach sales I would say in a kind of, not in a casual way, but in a slightly chaotic way, I would say, to be honest, and try to bring that over, instead of taking the first step, which is looking at really setting the foundations in place. And the foundations you need to do is your ideal target customer, and then what is your sales process going to be, right? And you need to figure out your sales process in relation to who you're trying to sell to. And then you need technology to keep you on track. And that's where CRM comes in. And I think that oftentimes, founders and people who start businesses, they will like invest in a marketing automation system, or they'll invest in in QuickBooks or something for accounting, which is all necessary stuff. But they won't invest in sales technology like CRM, because they think, yeah, I can just do this, and I can track things on an Excel sheet, and I that's something that can come later. But if you do it up front, you're setting yourself up for success, because it's like, if you don't, it's like that old saying, if you don't know where you're going, any path will take you there, right? So the point is to really define your ideal target customer and figure out what their buying process is and how they like to buy, and then develop your sales process based off of that. But be disciplined about setting up your sales process, and that will be your friend, because that will allow you to be a little bit more discerning about the opportunities you go after. It'll help you to better forecast, because you'll be more accurate in what you're doing, because you're going to be focused. So I think that's the biggest mistake, is to not do the process work, and not engage the technology at the very beginning for sales.
You said that CRM is a sales tool. I think if done correctly, it's a marketing tool that can funnel leads to the sales team. Correct me if I'm wrong.
CRM has marketing elements in it, but at the end of the day, your CRM should be where you build relationships with your customers, because you build knowledge. It should be the repository of all of that knowledge, of all of those interactions, and therefore you're able to build better relationships, longer relationships. You're able to see opportunities with your customers, maybe to upsell, cross sell, etc. And it really keeps you on track on that level, so it becomes a repository of all that information. But then also over time, you should be able to use it to actually improve how you sell, to see where the gaps in your process are, the gaps in how you engage. If you have a team, you should be able to start to see what they're good at and what they're not good at. So for me, it is kind of the hub. And at the end of the day, it's all around the customer, and understanding the customer, and gathering as much information as you can about the customer, so that you can engage intelligently with that customer or prospect, And then you can focus on the things that technology doesn't do well, which is the relationship, the real kind of human to human relationship building stuff, which is probably why you got into doing what you're doing in the first place, because that's what you want to do. You want to talk to people, you want to build relationships, you want to get them excited about your product or service. And the best way of doing that is if you are an informed and intelligent seller, and CRM should make you that.
You'd be surprised how many first time founders I've come across who've said, I have an idea and I built it. I want to make money now. And it's like, okay, well, did you validate the idea? Did you talk with customers? No. Well, why'd you build it? I don't know. I really am passionate about it. Okay, well, good luck. Go talk to people.
Before you're going to go out on your own, I mean, the thing is, you do need to validate whether what you're doing is of interest to anybody, right? And to find the people that it's interest to, and to validate your idea, like you said. And I do think that sometimes the excitement of going out on your own or setting up your own business, it's intoxicating in some ways, and you feel like maybe I'm that person who has this great idea that nobody's ever thought of, and yes, nobody has told me they want it, but once they see it. And I think that's always the danger. It's that idea of, build it and they shall come, right? There's plenty of examples of people who built things and then it just nobody ever came. And so I think you're 100% correct. I think you have to temper your enthusiasm with a little bit of realism.
What do you think of AI in sales?
Yeah, I mean, we're big advocates of AI. We have already started. We actually were a bit of ahead of the curve. About 4 or 5 years ago, we started using kind of rudimentary AI in our mobile app, and then obviously with the latest wave of AI, we have integrated a lot of AI into the platform, and we're going to be bringing agents into it this year. In the next few months, indeed, we'll have our first agents in the CRM platform. But again, I would go back to, we see AI as supportive. We see it as fantastic supportive, but it's going to, the way we look at it, allow really good salespeople to be even better and to focus on the things that they're good at. Like I said, the relationship building part, being creative, thinking outside of the box, understanding, helping the customer uncover opportunities that they didn't even know existed for them. All of the stuff that really good salespeople want to do, but unfortunately haven't been able to do because they've had to do all of this other work. So now, AI can take care of, you can, all your communications, I weave it in our system, all of your communications, you can quickly have it summarized. You can have the sentiment, uh, you can, gauge the sentiment. It can, set up, yeah, and it basically do all of the tasks, and but make you more intelligent in your outreach. And so I believe that AI is going to be fantastic for salespeople who either are really good now or are willing to upskill themselves and really work on that relationship piece, the creative piece. If you're one of those, let's say, I think mid-range or low range kind of salespeople, I think you're in trouble. I think AI is going to do it better than what you're doing right now, probably. So I think as salespeople, you have a fantastic opportunity now is to upskill yourself and make you and have AI as this supportive tool that's going to allow you to do the things that really great salespeople do. And so I think AI is going to be a fantastic. It's going to be a fantastic help to salespeople who want to be the best that they can be, but it has to be used properly.
I wish I had an AI agent that could do all of my sales calls for me. Have you heard of Bordy.ai? It's connected through LinkedIn. This bot connected to LinkedIn, and then people can reach out to it and book calls with it, and then have conversations with it live on the phone and tell them who they are and what they want and what they're looking for. And then based on the other people that the AI has talked to, it'll recommend other humans for you to be connected to by it. So it removes the untrusted human in the middle and has a trusted AI, because the AI is only going to do introductions that they think are going to be really good. And the AI ended up raising an $8 million seed round for the company on its own.
In that instance there, it's only connecting you to the right people right there. So it's focused. So you're getting rid of all the noise. And I think that's a great thing. And I think this is going to do the same thing for sales, is remove a lot of the noise and allow you to focus on, ultimately we want to buy, especially in B2B sales. I mean, ultimately we want to buy from humans we trust, right? But to get to that point of building that trust with the other human, uh, again, you need to be connected to the right person. You need to be intelligent in how you engage with that person. And I think AI is great for getting rid of the noise, focusing you, and making sure that you're a lot more intelligent when you engage.
So, in terms of CRM use, I know this is maybe off topic slightly, but also relative to AI. I find myself sometimes clicking around a website going, I wish I could just talk to the damn website and it would just do what I want. So, like, CRMs have a ton of features. And if I have to go and I have to click on this specific person that I know I just spoke to, and then I have to add a note and then change the status, like, I wish I could just go, hey, you know, Pipeliner AI, whatever, I don't know. Uh, can you open Elizabeth Horton's uh, profile, add this note, move her to this status, just like tell it what to do and it'll just do it. Because I know that you can use like Zapier to have, oh, if a call is booked, then it automatically drags it. But like that's a lot of work to set up the connections, and it's expensive to manage those API connections. Surely an AI can do that stuff like better.
Candidly, that's where I see all software going at the end of the day, is where we don't learn the clicks and the this and the that or whatever, but we just ask it. The onus will be on you to learn how to communicate, and that's a lot, and that's certainly a lot easier than learning the clicks, learning how to prompt properly, how to communicate. Here's a really good example. We always admire the Excel whizzes, right? It's already happening, is when AI and with natural language, to be able to say to Excel, I want you to do this, and I want to this formula, and I want all of this stuff, and it just goes and does it and build me this table.
Hey, just give me 10 seconds of your time. I really appreciate you listening to the episode so far, and I hope you're loving it. And if you are, I would love to ask you to subscribe to the channel, because what we do is a lot of work. And every week we bring you a new guest and a new story. And what we do requires so much love so that we can bring you something amazing. And every week we're trying really hard to get better guests that have better stories and improve our ability to tell their stories. So your subscription lets the algorithm know that what we're doing is fantastic, and no commitment, it's free to do. And if you don't like what we're doing later on, you can always unsubscribe. And either way, we would love a like if you don't feel like subscribing at this time. Thank you very much, and we'll take you back.
It's the same with CRM, and I think with all software within Pipeliner, we've got a fantastic reporting engine. It's a really deep and it's really robust reporting engine, but you need to know how to use it, right, to get to the really robust part of it. We're building an agent, and that agent will be exactly what you're talking about, where you will say, I want this report. I want to know about Sean and his team. I want to know last year versus this year. I want to know the mark, all of this, and it goes and creates the report for you.
Text or voice?
Initially text, but it will be voice. We will be enabling voice. I mean, we already have like some voice elements in there, but to be honest, like I said, I think everything is going to be voice eventually, or it'll be a choice whether you want to do it by text or by voice. But I think voice is going to take over, and I think that's it. I think the days of us learning clicks and drop downs and all of that will be gone, because like, why would you want to do that?
So designers and product managers and UI UX designers, they're all screwed.
I still think there'll be a role for them, because we like to engage with visual systems and stuff. I think there'll be a role for that. But yeah, a lot of those roles that are there currently in software development, I think a lot of those will go away for sure.
You can just have an AI generate those visuals. Why do you need a human to make them?
This all sounds fantastic, but there is one big caveat, and that is data data integrity. And this is something that I don't think a lot of people have realized yet, because AI came out first, or the latest wave of it, and people were doing their using the AI tools, and it's going on those big those large language models and all of that, and they're just typing in stuff and it's great. And then they were like, oh yeah, but that's not very secure, and everything's out in the ether. And then they're saying, oh look, but we can bring AI in and we can use it with our own data sets inside, which is, to be honest, where the power really is, I think, especially when it comes to tools. However, if your data's garbage, right? And to be honest, most companies' data is not clean; it's garbage. You can have the greatest AI agent in the world is only going to be able to leverage the data as it is, right? It's not going to clean your data for you. So you're going to get garbage in, garbage out. So the big challenge I think facing organizations is data integrity. We actually put a data a deduplicator and a data checker into Pipeliner to help our customers to make sure that they could, get the best out of the tools we're using. But this is a massive challenge for organizations. As they get really excited about implementing AI internally, they're going to bump up against this issue of, yeah, but you got to clean your data and you got to keep your data clean. And I work companies. I as I said, I ran a few companies a few years ago, and I had to, twice a year to pay this consulting company to come in and clean the data because we had so much data, and it was impossible to keep it clean. And so I think that's going to be where a lot of people come undone, and they're not considering that right now.
Do you mind telling me what they charge, just so I can think about the numbers?
I can't remember, but it was a lot because I'm very bottom line conscious. So expenses for me. So this was one of those expenses that I signed off on very reluctantly. So it was a lot of money. It was a lot of money at the time. So I don't know what data cleansing services charge nowadays, but at the time it was a lot of money.
Was the service valuable after the fact?
Yeah, it was valuable, but the fact that I had to bring it in twice a year will tell you that it's like it's like cleaning your house, isn't it? It's like they come in, clean everything. A couple of weeks later, the house needs cleaning again, right? Because
Wouldn't it be cheaper to have someone in house for something like this then?
yeah, maybe, but I mean, it accumulates, right? It accumulates over time, and I think the thing at the end of the day is to fix the inputs, right, and how the inputs, and that's what I think is AI is going to help with. It will help with that with the inputs, but yeah, it's an ongoing challenge, and but if you don't have processes or you don't have data integrity kind of processes set up, you're always going to be chasing your tail.
I feel like this is an interesting conversation, but maybe a little high level for early founders.
What I would say is, even with early founders, is pay attention to your data, even if it's simple. Even if you say, "Well, I only have 5 customers right now," I'd say, yeah, just make sure whatever information you're capturing about that, keep it up to date and keep it clean, and be mindful of it, because one day you're going to grow, right? Because that's why you're doing what you're doing. You probably want to grow, maybe sell your business. um, Growing will be much easier if you have that mindset from the outset to, I'm going to keep my data clean, regardless of how little or rudimentary your data is today.
Can you define what clean means?
Say you're capturing information about you, Sean. Make sure I've got the correct first name, I've got the correct last name, I've got the correct email, I've got the correct phone number, I've got the correct address. Any of those things that are wrong, or maybe put in wrong, or maybe you changed, your address changed or something, and I never bothered updating it, or things like that. Those are the kind of things, especially when you're in a startup or you're a founder. Those are things that are very easy to lose track of. And then as you gain more customers, suddenly, like, you have 10% of the wrong address, 5% of the wrong email, that kind of thing, and it accumulates very quickly.
My dad's a dentist, and every time someone would come into the office for an appointment, just want to make sure, has anything changed? But it depends on how the employee is trained as well, because if the employee is trained to ask the question, they will ask, but the patient may not be aware if they told them the last time. So, like, let's say they moved. They may have forgotten to tell them the address had changed, and it had been a year. So, no, nothing's changed. So, you may still have gaps, even if you still train them to clean the data.
It's better to try and train them than not, and hopefully, yeah, and and then the other thing is you could always every so often you could set up an automated process where maybe every 6 months, you send something out to that person to say, is this date, or is all of this still correct? And it makes it very easy, because if you say to me, did you change your address, I might forget. But if I'm presented with something that has my old address, I'll go, oh, that's my old address.
Is there anything I haven't asked you that you feel we'd be remiss to not mention in terms of trying to educate founders here?
I think the validating what you're doing is super important. I think the other thing too is Sean, and we've all been guilty of this when we've ever gone out and done our own thing, whether it's for a long time or a short time or whatever, is going too broad and thinking, because I'm starting up, this isn't, you're not my ideal target customer that I was thinking about, but it seems like I could probably do something for you and I'm desperate for the revenue. So I'm going to do that. And before you know it, you are straying outside of what you should be doing. And focus is your friend, even though it may be difficult, and it may mean that you're going to say no to stuff when you really don't want to, when you see those dollar signs and you just think, oh, I could just do this as a one-off. The problem is you end up doing a lot of one-offs, and ultimately I've seen this before, where you end up doing more one-offs than you do of what you actually set out to do. And now you've set yourself up as kind of being accustomed, everything is customized, and therefore that becomes expensive. It's not scalable, and you end up in that, as you end up in that feast or famine, because you go after you're chasing business, so you're prospecting like crazy, then you land some business, then you're implementing like crazy, you finish your implementation, you go, oh, I got to prospect again. So you're in this feast or famine, or peak and valley, or whatever analogy you want to use. So I think the biggest thing is focus, is like, understand what you do best, who you do it for, and what results you can generate, and stick with that, even if it's hard at the beginning, even if it means you have to say no to business, that and you say no to money. And therefore I would also say everything always takes longer than you would like. So make sure you have, when you do your financials, make sure you have liquidity and capital to last you long enough, and then add some. And always be conscious of liquidity, because that's the other thing, as a yourself, as a founder or an entrepreneur, is sometimes people make that mistake. They have, maybe they get 3 customers and they think, fantastic, I've got this revenue and blah blah blah. But you don't, because they haven't paid you yet, right? And maybe one of them pays you 30 days. Maybe once you get a deal with the big company, and the big company goes, oh, yeah, you're just a little person. I'm not even going to pay you in 30 days. I'll pay you in 60 or 90 days. I don't care. And suddenly you're looking at your revenue and you think, well, things are going well. But then you you look at your cash and you go, shoot, I can't even make payroll. So it's those kind of simple things that can undo you very quickly.